I'm going to get into this a bit later when we talk about speed stuff and whatever, but people talk a lot about like the difference between training range of motion, how much depth you should use when you're doing exercises, all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And again, it's all context dependent. Like it all depends on what you're trying to do, your body, like how your things are moving properly. Like another thing that I realize for me is when if I do high knee stuff, if I keep my knees straight up and down, it doesn't feel as good as if I let them go out a little bit angled out. Same with squats.
Yeah.
I have long legs. So when I go down into a squat, if I let my knees go out, it feels like I have more space to get into my range.
Yeah.
Whereas if I keep it in, I feel locked up. Like I don't have the same level of mobility. And those are kinds of things that you need to be able to, as a trainer, as a coach, you need to be able to understand that, okay, maybe what I think isn't actually working for this guy. And if you don't know, like it would be easy for me to say, well, don't let your arms cross the midline, just because that's what I was originally taught.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that make sense about that.
Exactly. And
another one is like with hockey players, like the rule of thumb, if you're going to be a good squatter, is get your ass right to the ground.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good squat. Does that apply to hockey? I think and I know that it's not that beneficial to hockey because you don't use that range of motion getting all the way down. Now, it's good for building strength, but as far as performing in hockey, you don't need to go lower than what you're actually skating. Do you know what I mean?
That's true, but then there's also another piece to that.
I know. You flip it. I know.
Because then there's, okay, but what are we working on right now? So
strength or performance?
Exactly,
I know.
right? So
I know.
if you're doing performance stuff, are you working into your range? Are you trying to strengthen tendons? Or are you trying to strengthen muscles? What are you trying to work on? Because then it depends. Again, there it is, right?
Yeah, everything depends.
It depends on what exactly you're training today. Yeah. So I was gonna wait till later, but I'll get into a bit now just because we're on it. So there's two guys that I've come across over the last year that are like they teach completely opposite things.
Yeah.
Both I agree with and both are correct. So it's gonna go to the range of motion conversation. So it's funny because I post these exercise videos and sometimes I'll get some heat, like people will comment on it like, oh, where's your depth? Like, why aren't you going like ass to grass? Yeah. Or like if I'm doing a bench and I'm only going to a 90-degree joint angle, like why am I not going all the way down? So again, it depends. What are you trying to work on? So there's a guy that puts out some good stuff. His name's Dr. Joel Seedman. And his philosophy, he does strength training. That's important to know. He's doing strength training. And he doesn't let his guys go past 90-degree joint angles. Not like it looks like 90 degrees. It's like your joint is at a 90-degree angle. So whether it's a squat, a bench, any kind of whatever you're doing.
Right.
So as soon as his guys hit the 90-degree joint angle point, that's it. Back up. We're not going lower. Because, and I haven't looked into this research myself. This is what he says.
This is his theory.
And there is science to support it.
Yeah.
I just haven't personally looked at the science.
Yeah.
But I'm taking his word for it,
right.
Which makes sense. Is that it's optimal for strength training to not go past 90-degree joint angles.
Okay.
That's what he says. There's a bunch of reasons for that don't matter. My point is that's his philosophy. So he doesn't let his guys go past 90 for strength. Then there's another guy that I come across, and he's on Instagram. He's called Knees Over Toes Guy.
Yeah.
So this guy is all about full depth.
Yeah.
Everything. Full depth knees, full depth squats, full range of motion in all your joints, everything. But he's not talking about strength training.
This would be more mobility based.
This is more mobility. This is more tendon strengthening, right? Tendons, ligaments. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So for me, a common question that the kids will ask in here was, my depth low enough? Or is my whatever, should I be going deeper? Should I not be going as deep or whatever? And again, there it is. It depends on what we're doing, right? It depends. Yeah. So for hockey, especially for speed, you think that, and we'll start to get into this power skating thing. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but we're already on it. So when you're training for speed, you can get speed from obviously your muscles contracting. That's where you're going to get speed, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also getting speed from your tendons.
Yep.
So you have the force that you produce from contracting muscles, but then you have the elastic force of your tendons around all your joints. So if you don't have strong tendons, then you're losing out on the elastic force that they can produce to help you with the speed. Mm-hmm. So this might be a little too technical. I'll try to keep it like not that technical, but the tendons around your joints, you can think of it like an elastic band. So you think you stretch a band out and it snaps back. So that snapback force, those are your tendons work that way too. It's similar.
Yep.
So the more you can strengthen that, where they can be, if you think about like a thin rubber band, you stretch it out, it doesn't snap back as much as a thick rubber band.
Weaken it.
Right?
Yeah.
So you if the actual band is thicker, it'll snap back more. So you can get more force off your tendons, which is beneficial to make you faster.
Sure.
But if you can't stretch it out, if it's big and fat, but you can't stretch it out, then you're not getting there's no compliance there. It won't snap back to get that force.
Okay.
That's where you can start to get injured because you stretch it out too much and it doesn't have the elasticity, so it breaks.
Yep.
So all of that is to say, if you're trying to get faster, it is your muscles, but it's also those tendons.
Yeah.
And you train those tendons through your full range of motion.
Right.
So you can't say, well, I should only be going to 90 degrees, or you have to go ass to grass all the time. Because if you're talking about muscle strength, maybe 90 degree is best. Maybe that's optimal, so you shouldn't go lower. But then if you're trying to strengthen tendons, then it's like, okay, well, I have to work through the range, otherwise I'm not developing that elastic potential in the tendons, right?
The tendon strength.
So it's like, what are we talking about? Like, what exactly are we trying to work on? And they're both correct. Neither thing is better or worse than the other. And it depends what you need.
Yeah.
What are you good at?
Right.
And I know you got a couple points on that.
It's like nutrition. It's like, you're eating for performance, or you're eating to gain weight, or you're eating to lose weight. Like, it depends on what you're trying to do. So